Hey folks, this is Matt once again. Uh, the reason this isn't a Robocop 2 review is, if you can tell, I've been, by the way I sound, I've been under the weather for past couple of days. Haven't been feeling the best, so I've just been resting, drinking a lot of water. And I want to review Robocop 2 when I'm better because I really enjoy Robocop 2. That's a film I want to defend. I enjoy the film. And then after that, you'll see Robocop 3 rant. But I want to do that at least a little while longer when I get better. But I figured I could do a DVD update because really it doesn't require much thought. I just show it and talk about it. So let me showcase. I've gotten a lot of DVDs recently. A lot of these are very, very cheap. I'm guessing because of the WWE Network, which I'm not. I don't care to get. I don't need the WWE Network. This is fine. But yeah, a lot of these I got for very cheap. So let's get into it. First off, got this one because I had gotten Dwayne the Rod Johnson, which is the documentary, thanks to First Power 100. So I got this, The Rock, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, which is a 3-disc set, which pretty much has a lot of matches from The Rock's career. It also has um, a bunch of his one-liners and promos as well on one disc. Has stuff like uh, Raw, Hunter S. Helmsley versus Rocky Maivia for Intercontinental Championship, Owen Hart versus The Rock for an Intercontinental Championship. And in between matches, it shows like a little update of where The Rock was at that point. The Rocky main versus Undertaker and Big Show, uh, The Rock versus Kane, no holds barred match. It's on SmackDown. The Rock versus Shane McMahon steel cage match for Raw. Booker T versus The Rock for WCW Championship in SummerSlam 2001. I'm not going through all of them. You guys can look it up, but which overall I enjoyed. I like the other DVD better because the first part I just sent me because that's the documentary. But this has a bunch of his matches, which is cool. It's nice to have. This is very cool. The best of Saturday night's main event. This is very cool. Pretty much what it says. It's a 3-disc set. If you're a fan of wrestling, I would suggest picking this one up. It's got a lot of cool stuff from back in the day, like stuff that was on Saturday night's main event: Hulk Hogan versus Cowboy Bob Orton, Roddy Piper versus Paul Orndorff, I should say, Hulk Hogan versus Terry Funk, Mr. T versus Cowboy Bob Orton, Jake the Snake versus Ricky the Giant Steamboat, Jake the Snake versus Macho Man Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan versus Paul Orndorff, Battle Royale that was in 1987, Hart Foundation versus British Bulldogs. Also has segments that were on Saturday Night's Main Event back in 85, 87, so on. The Pile Driver music video with the wrestling stars from 1987, that's on here. Randy Savage versus Bret Hitman Hart in 87. The Real American music video. Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy on Saturday Night's Main Event. Randy Savage versus the Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase. Hulk Hogan versus Harley Race. Macho Man versus Andre the Giant. Ultimate Warrior versus Honky Tonk Man. Twin Towers versus Mega Powers. I think that was Big Boss Man and a team versus Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan versus Big Boss Man. Rockers versus the Brainbusters, Dusty Rhodes versus Big Boss Man, Mr. Perfect and the Genius, Holding versus the Genius, Mr. Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior versus Mr. Perfect and the Genius. And a lot of these were events that happened, which led to WrestleMania, like Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior versus Mr. Perfect and the Genius, or Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage versus Big Boss Man and the Team. Hulk Hogan versus Mr. Perfect, Mr. Perfect versus Tito Santana, 20-man Battle Royal match in 1991, which I think Mr. Perfect won. Shawn Michaels, and then mostly it's to from 85 to 92, and thankfully there's only a couple from, because I guess it was a break, and then a couple from 2006, Edge versus Cena, Degeneration, Edge versus Spirit Squad, Shawn Michaels versus Shane McMahon in the street fight, other segments in there. It's not all of them, but again, I'm not going to go into every single one. But if you're a fan of wrestling, this is a fun one to get. This one I can definitely recommend. The best of Saturday Night's main event. And these two sort of go. And a lot of these were really cheap, especially on Go Hastings and even on Amazon. Some of these are just like $3-4. Not all of them, but some of them. It's just look for the best deals. There's the Best of Raw 15th Anniversary Edition from 1993 to 2008, which this pretty much just goes in order of year. Like disc 1 is from 93 to 97, disc 2 is from 98 to 2002, disc 3 is from 2003 to 2008. There's that one. See, is there anything? Not much in there, but pretty much a bunch of events that were, I guess, quote, the better events of Raw during that time. Like Razor Ramon versus the Kid, Bret Hart versus the 1-2-3 Kid, Shawn Michaels versus Owen Hart, Stone Cold Stunts the Boss, so on and so forth. And then there's that one. And then this one, which, fuck John Cena. That guy doesn't seem interesting at all. Never cared for him. Not for his acting or his wrestling. But there's Raw, so why not also get the best of SmackDown? And this one is done differently than the Raw. This one is actually done in order. Like, the top 100 best moments of SmackDown goes from number 100 to number 1. And this is a 10th anniversary from 99 to 2009. And it's also a 3-disc set. There's this one. That was when Hogan returned, among other stuff. Eddie Guerrero. This 2. And this 3. Then you guys can look online, like all the specifics on it. And then there's this one, Raw: The Beginning, the best of seasons 1 and 2. They both have the same. Well, they have different in the back. Like the best of season 1 and the best of season 2. A lot of stuff of the, quote, the new generation. So you get a lot of stuff from not a lot from Undertaker, but Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, a little bit of Razor Ramon, a lot of Doink the Clown for some reason. Sumo match, Yokozuna versus Earthquake, Yokozuna versus Randy Savage, Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon, Mario Jannetty versus Shawn Michaels, Mr. Perfect versus Doink the Clown, Doink the Clown versus Kamala, Lex Luger versus Crush. Sort of just a look back on memory lane, so to speak. and stuff that's not wrestling. A movie. I received this on VHS from a nice guy in here, Dustin. So I wanted it on DVD and got this for very cheap. So Hollow Point with Tia Carrera, Thomasine Griffith, Donald Sutherland, and John Lithgow. Directed by Sidney J. Fury. Film I had fun with because it was a film that didn't take itself seriously. Jake the Snake Roberts, Pick Your Poison. Excellent purchase. Documentary is really sad, tragic life that he's had so far. With what was it like? His dad was dating his grandma, and the dad slept with who would become his mom, and his mom was like 13 years old when she had him. And then he had to live with his grandparents, and his grandpa was an alcoholic. And at one time, he lived with his dad and stepmom. His stepmom tried to seduce him. And then his sister, when she got pregnant when she was 13 or 14, she got married and like at 18 or so. And then his sister got murdered by her husband's ex-wife. And, he's had a problem with drugs and stuff like that. But thankfully now, at least so far, he's doing good. He's getting to the Hall of Fame. The WWE Hall of Fame. He's with Diamond Dallas Page, who's helping him out. Him and Scott Hall, ATL Razor Ramon. Very cool to see that happen. So very interesting documentary, as well as quite a few matches and interviews. Good 2-disc set of Jake the Snake Roberts. Definitely become a favorite of mine because the guy just has a great demeanor to him, and his snake Damien. And for some reason, this came with this book too, which is a little biography on superstar Billy Graham, Jerry the Teen Lawler, and Classy Freddie Blassie. I'm not sure why it came with this book. Why not a book on Jake the Snake that get a little more in depth that maybe they didn't put into this? But hey, what do I know? The only problem I have with the matches, in the WWF, the only matches it really has is the one on WrestleMania 3, the one he had. Well, I mean, like his heyday from 86 to 90 some. I think they could have had a bit more matches. Even if it's one of those matches where it's just the guy who's there to get beat by him. I mean, it'd be nice one day if they took a superstar and put every single match he's ever done into a big set from beginning to end, but what do I know? But that's Jake the Snake Roberts. Really enjoyed that one. The True Story of WrestleMania. Uh, Again, this was like $2-3. Again, just wait to get them really cheap. And I guess it's mainly for Disc 1. Disc 1 is about a 2-hour documentary on WrestleMania, mainly on the places that they put WrestleMania at, but you get a little bit behind the scenes of WrestleMania. I was hoping to talk a little bit more in depth on the WrestleMania events. They talked about the events, but I mean like the matches. But it's more about the places that hosted WrestleMania, and I didn't get behind the scenes of it as well. Just interesting for me. Look at it. Disc 2 and 3 is pretty much WrestleMania matches. So I have a friend of mine who he says he's actually working on getting all the WrestleManias for me, which you know who you are. That's extremely nice of you. I look forward to that, but all I can say is thank you, which is sounds silly and superficial, but that's really kind of him to be doing that. But this is the true story of WrestleMania. Bobby the Brain Heenan, um, which I really enjoyed. This guy seems like he's supposed to be a heel manager, but he seems like a really good guy, a funny guy. But the documentary itself, unfortunately, is a little too short. It's about 50 minutes. And for some reason, the documentary itself doesn't have any interviews with Bobby the Brain Heenan, but some of the special features it does, so I don't really understand that. It has a bunch of other features, some matches he was involved with, his induction to the Hall of Fame, the 1992 Battle Royal, which he did commentary on, and other moments that he was involved with. But I'm still glad to have this, Bobby the Brain Heenan. But there's also this one, Ric Flair, the Definitive Collection, which again, this has a documentary, about a 2-hour documentary on Ric Flair. And this 2 and 3 is a lot of promos he has, matches he had with Roddy Piper, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Sting. Send off on Monday Night Raw the night after WrestleMania 24. Again, promos. Really good documentary. Not only on Ric Flair, but talks a little bit about the history of the business as well. So you really see that Ric Flair was able to do a lot in his career. And then you had McMahon. Again, this was a lot of these really cheap. About a 2-hour, over 2-hour documentary on McMahon, his family, his his start in the business, the Monday Night Wars, his rivalry with Stone Cold Steve Austin, the creation of the McMahon character, a lot of stuff, and also matches, including the St. Valentine's Day Massacre steel cage match between him and Stone Cold Steve Austin. No holds barred between him and Triple H. Street fight between him and his son Shane McMahon. Him and a street fight between him and Ric Flair. And also the WrestleMania street fight between him and Hulk Hogan. Undertaker Buried Alive match from Survivor Series 2003. Handicap ladder match with Shane McMahon. Him and Vince versus Stone Cold at the Teen Arena 99. Stephanie McMahon versus Vince McMahon I Quit match from No Mercy. And this is really interesting to watch. And then Hulk Hogan's Unreleased Collector's Series. I do have the Hulk Still Rules, which is a documentary, but I think they need to make a much better documentary because that documentary is only an hour long. It's up until 2002, and they leave out so much stuff. Like, they leave out his rivalries with the $1 Million Man, with Earthquake, with Sergeant Slaughter, for crying out loud, with Ultimate Warrior. Like, they don't touch a little bit of a WWF, like Roddy Piper and Andre, King Kong Bundy, Savage, very briefly it seems, and then to WCW. And it's just, you could do a 3-hour documentary on Hulk Hogan with how much the guy's done in the business. So they need to do a bigger documentary. But there's this unreleased collector series, 3-disc set. Pretty much just has a bunch of matches that you don't see. And in between, they have little stuff in there as well about him. But I'm not going to go in depth. You can go online and look it up on Amazon what's on here. And then I mentioned this before. I had gotten these from John Zero Cool, which was unbelievable because these were the ones that were incredibly expensive, and thanks to him, I have John Zero Cool, which were the Royal Rumble Volume 2 and 3, which is unbelievable. So thus, I had purchased Volume 1. So now I have the first 3 volumes of the Royal Rumble from 1988 to 2002. Maybe I'll get the 4th one. I know there's a 4th one. Maybe I'll get that one day. Maybe I will. Probably will to finish the collection. Won't be anytime soon, but I'll probably get that since it's, it's the final one. I'll get that one day. Might as well. Let's see. Next up is Survivor Series, which I got the first 2 volumes. There was never a volume 3 released. I'm not sure why. I've heard different things. I've heard because Owen Hart's wife didn't want it, but then it's strange because Owen Hart's in some of the other releases. I've heard because of Chris Benoit, but then it's still weird because I've heard Chris Benoit in some of the other stuff. I didn't hear that it was because it didn't sell well. So I don't know why they were, but so the only ones released from 1987 to 1991, and from 1992 to 1996. So up until 1996. So the other Survivor Series never released, at least not in these sets. So, and then SummerSlam complete, and this is how it came in the mail. So it didn't really wasn't the best, but oh well. This is Volume 1 from 1988 to 1992, and Volume 2 from 1993 to 1997. Would I get the other ones? I don't know. I mean, you already know I've bought a lot of stuff, so maybe. Maybe they complete the collection like the Royal Rumble, but Volume 1 and Volume 2? Of the Royal Rumble, of the SummerSlam. So from 88 to 97. Let's put that like that. Didn't think this go on so long. But I'm getting to the end. Last couple I have are the Monday Night War. Pretty much what it says. Has DVD extras as well. But it's, of course, about the Monday Night War between WWF and WCW. This one just got in the mail today. Haven't had a chance to look at it, but because I was sent the 90s, I got the greatest wrestling stars of the 80s. Very cheap, and got it brand new. Might as well open it here. Let's see. Let me fix that here. And there. And there. There we go. 3-disc set of the greatest wrestling stars of the 80s. Which will be interesting to watch. Plus, it has matches, promos, interviews, Tuesday Night Titans skits, hidden extras, a lot of stuff. From Hulk Hogan, Junkyard Dog, to Sergeant Slaughter, Dusty Rhodes, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Ric Flair, Iron Sheik, of course, Roddy Piper, and so on. And last but not least, I did like this film. Came out recently, and it was actually pretty cheap when it came out. This was actually $10 brand new, so I decided to. These others I got cheaper than that, but Just for some reason I gotta open it now instead of off camera. Battle of the Damned, which actually had this cover on here. So, Battle of the Damned. And I remember sort of a little 3D sword cover, which is cool. Low budget film, Dolph Lundgren versus zombies. Hey, it's Dolph Lundgren versus zombies. The only problem with this movie for me, well, one, I didn't care for the lead girl. Second off, it needed a bigger budget. Because this is a... Haven't heard of the company before, but definitely need a much bigger budget. That would have been great, but for low budget film, was still entertained by Battle of the Damned. Dolph Lundgren versus zombies. I mean, but that's my DVD update. Went for 26 minutes, not longer than I thought it'd be. Collected most of the wrestling stuff I wanted. The only ones I can think of, Royal Rumble Volume 4 to complete the collection. Maybe the other two SummerSlams, because I think there's two more. I think there's two more SummerSlams. And unfortunately, the other pay-per-views, I don't think were on DVD, or if they are, they're hard to find. Like the In Your House. I know there's the best of In Your House DVD and Blu-ray, but I'm talking about like the separate In Your House. I think you only get most of those on VHS, unfortunately. And some of the other stuff, but other than that, WrestleMania, which, like I said, I have a friend of mine who says he's working on that for me, which is very kind of him to do. He didn't have to do that. Almost got all the ones I need, so it was very cool. Maybe when I get all of them, maybe I'll do reviews of each one. Maybe I'll do that. But I know in a few days you'll see a review for Robocop 2 and 3. And then maybe want to review Dread again. And then who knows? After that, we'll see. I'm not taking any requests. It's more fun to be random. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this DVD update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.